Thank you guys so much. Keep it going for Sister Britt. Oh, she taught me a thing or two about Warrior One backstage, let me tell you. This Wednesday, this faggot's coming to late night, everybody. Please tune in. I'm super excited. I think it's pretty crass to plug yourself up top, but I don't mind. I'm really excited. Oh, gosh, I hope no one has any place to be, because I'm last. So we're going to run out the clock tonight, everybody. I'm just so relieved and happy to be doing a show where not a single straight white woman has asked the question, where are my gays at? Because we're all here, because I swear to God, if I never have to woo to the question, where are my gays at ever again, I'll die happy. As though we are cattle somewhere in a barn. Very excited to be here. How dare you? How dare you? I'm really excited to be here. I realized I was in LA last week for LA Pride. I'm here this weekend for Portland Pride, and then I get to go back to New York for New York Pride. And what a fucking year to get to do 3 fucking prides in a row. I am the luckiest gay man in the country this year, and I am so excited to be spending this weekend with you guys. I too, like many other storytellers tonight, I had a lot of conflict about what I was going to talk about tonight. Originally, I was going to talk about a recent breakup, and then the tragedy happened, and I thought like, oh, I can't do something funny. How the fuck am I going to be funny after all of this? And then, not to use the old cliche, but I can't let the terrorists win, so we're going to talk a lot about porn and kink tonight, everybody. That's what I'm going to talk about! So let's just jump in. The first porn I ever watched, or rather in this case read, when I was 9 years old, was a piece of Pokemon erotic fan fiction. You guys familiar? Okay. Just to catch some of you up who maybe weren't in that zone in the mid-90s, Pokemon, or Pocket Monsters, for the experts in here, is a Japanese import. Is a video game, card game, cartoon franchise juggernaut wherein you capture small animals and train them to fight for you. It's like a more whimsical cockfighting, but for children. Very exciting, and I was super into it, and I was exploring the World Wide Web when I was a child, and I stumbled upon a story wherein Giovanni, who is a character from the game / cartoon, a Japanese man's idea of a very sexy Italian man, he uses a Bulbasaur's vines to tie up and have sexual relations with Brock, another character in the franchise. And boy, did I love it! Oh man, I was 9 years old and I did not have the full capacity to process all the feelings I was feeling about it. But boy, it stuck with me for many years. So that was the first piece of porn I ever consumed. Certainly not the last. I am a single person. We all like porn in here, correct? We all like porn. You like porn, sir? That's great. I love that about you. Second question, do you watch a lot of gay porn? You do. Even better. This bit of crowd work normally works the best when I get someone who's uncomfortable, but I, for a moment, forgot where I was. So, God bless. I love porn of all kinds. I'm single right now, so I'm watching a lot of porn. And I truly think the toughest part about being single is all the Saturday and Sunday afternoons I spend alone in my bed just thinking, like, don't masturbate again, don't masturbate again, don't masturbate again. And then, like, a conflicting voice coming in being like, oh, but, like, who's waiting for all the loads, Joel? You know, like, these loads that you're saving right now. where are they going? Like, no one's waiting for them. Set the loads free. That's what I mean to say by all that. But yeah, I watch a lot of porn, and the kink porn is still, like, the BDSM stuff is still like a factor, like, is still something that sort of like is something that I'm interested in. It all goes back to that Pokemon porn. And I will remember being 16 years old and watching like real BDSM, like on-cam porn, and being like really into it. And there's one specific image that I will always remember from that porn that I watched, and it was a close-up on this dude's asshole, and he had the word bitch written around his asshole. And like, not a fan of disrespect or misogyny, but I love calligraphy, and like, just something about like graffiti on the body, specifically on that part of the body. I was like, wow, I love that. And you know, like I'm like a pretty like sex positive guy, which is like a fancy academic way of saying like I'm a big old slut. And so, but like shockingly, I have never had the opportunity to really like engage in the kind of like kinky sex that I would love to have engaged in when I was having that sexual awakening at 9/16 until a couple summers ago. I was still living in Chicago. I was not yet in New York, and I was sitting at home watching Netflix with all of the apps and websites open, because we as gay men, like, the lesbians really, they got us gay marriage while all the gay men were busy designing apps. That's truly what happened. There are just so many. There's Grindr and Scruff and Growler and Manhunt and Jacked and VGL and Radar and Recon and like Boy Ahoy. There's an app called Boy Ahoy, you guys. I don't even know who that's targeted at, like young sailors, but I have it on my phone, because you have to set a lot of traps if you want to get ahead in this world. So there I was at home in Chicago in my apartment watching Netflix, all the apps up, checking my traps. And I got a message from this guy on one of the many websites / apps, and I'll call him Chris because he was white, and it was just him, and he had like one of those great like GIMP masks on and a collar, and he had like all these words written all over his body, and so I was like, oh, like very into that, and he messaged me, and his first message said something along the lines of like, hi, I'm Chris, I'm a slave, and my master is really into your profile. And I was like, oh, I'm obviously gonna have this conversation. Truly, like, why not? And so like I start like conversing with Chris, and for the first thing he tells me is like, hey, I'm on vacation right now, which I was like, that doesn't sound like any slave I've ever heard of. Like, I don't think you're not a slave then. Like, we have two different definitions of that word, Chris. Didn't catch that in any of the movies I've ever seen about slaves. But he said, I'm on vacation right now, but my master, he would really love to get to know you better. And I was like, in the back of my head, I was like, I'm a 20-something-year-old man. I live alone. Chris had just said, don't worry, he's not a crazy murderer or anything like that, which to any person like who doesn't have a death wish, that's a red flag. But I had just taken a Klonopin, so I was like, chill. Like, yeah, let's talk. Let's chat. Here's my number. Give him my number. Let's talk about this. So I start texting with his master back and forth, and like, we get all the ground rules set. I'm safe. He's safe. Like, here's my address. Come on over. All the regular stuff that you do within a 3 text message exchange. And so like we're texting and he was like, put on your jock strap. And I was like, how did he know I had one? You know, like that's wild. So like I did, and then I was like, okay, like I've done that. And he was like, no, okay, sir. And I was like, okay. Okay, sir. Are you allergic to cats? Because I have 2 cats, and they can be real cock blocks sometimes. And thank God he said no, so I put on my jockstrap and I sat back down. And the thing is like it didn't feel right to like turn back on Parks and Rec or whatever I was watching. So I literally just sat on my couch and waited for this dude to come over for like 15 minutes straight, just like sitting there. And he gets there, I go and I answer my door, and it wasn't, I won't say it was a whole catfish, you know? Like it wasn't like the full catfish, but he was like slightly shorter, slightly rounder, slightly older than all the information I received. But he was still like pretty cute. He was wearing an American Eagle shirt, which is like sidebar, like. If you are at an age where you'd like to be considered an adult man, don't wear American Eagle anymore. Like, come on. What you doing? Just go to Hollister. So I was a little nonplussed, but I let him in anyways, and things just sort of went downhill from there. I was, young and 20, so I only had whiskey but no mixers, and immediately he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I cannot drink whiskey without a mixer." And I was like, "Okay, some master." So we sat down, and I'm literally like in my jock strap right now, you guys. Just like chatting with this dude, and like you might not be able to tell, but I looked great. Like 100% I looked amazing, and I was like, why isn't this guy just like wanting to have sex with me immediately? But no, he wanted to chat. So we sat down on my cat hair covered couch, me bare bottomed, him still fully clothed. And like, listen, like I've had my fair share of internet hookups, and I'm not there to chat. I was very shocked at how much preamble there was to this encounter. And he just like wanted to tell me all about the 3 restaurants he owns and his antique car collection. And to make matters worse, he kept saying 2 words: frustrated and irregardless. And you know how hard it is to be a slave for someone who says frustrated and irregardless. Very hard to submit. So just as I was like getting ready to hit the abort button, he like out of nowhere like pushes my head down into his crotch, and my first reaction was like rude. But then I was like, oh no, we're in it. Okay, we're in the fantasy. I've dived in. This is what I wanted. So we're like doing that. We like move to the bedroom, and we start like the fucking portion of the evening, which, I don't know, have you ever heard someone who had great sex who said the fucking evening of the portion with such enthusiasm before? The fucking evening of the portion of the evening. It was sad. So we're doing the deed and whatever, and the whole time I could not stop hearing like, it's very frustrating because irregardless, blah, 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 my antique cars, and it's just like not good sex. And at one point, I'm so distracted that he leans forward and he whispers in my ear, "You're not very good at this." And make no mistake, Portland, I am great at sex. Like, if there is one thing I'm good at, it's fucking everybody. So I was upset. I was very upset. And then the other thing that he kept saying, and like, listen, I'm not well versed in the kink community as maybe I should be, but he kept reminding me that like it was not the point that I got off, and I was like, oh no. This will be the point. I will be getting off tonight. Thank you very much. And it was just crazy because after he said that to me, I just was like sitting there, just like thinking about it while I was being pounded, and like I just kept thinking, like my best Carrie Bradshaw voice like popped up in my head, just saying, and suddenly it occurred to me. Is this the man that I want to write bitch around my asshole? And the answer was no. It was not. So, but like the thing is we were like 55% of the way through. So I was like, all right, let's just wrap it up back there. I got places to be. And after we were done, I made him sit there and give me a hand job until I came, which sort of shattered the illusion, quite frankly. And he said, don't worry, you can make all of this up to me when you give me the best blowjob of your life tomorrow. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to work. So the next morning, he got up, and I will finish watching that episode of Parks and Recreation. All right, I'm Joel Kim Booster. Thank you guys so much.